Welcome to Amplifying Recruitment. In this episode, I'm joined by Alison, Craig and Lewis, who are the owners of Peace Recruitment. They bought the business through MBO 12 months ago, and earlier this year, we had the exiting founder, Chris Peace, on the podcast. Now it's time to hear the story from the other side. Enjoy. Guys, welcome to Amplifying Recruitment.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, thank you.
Cozy in here, right?
Very.
So look, earlier this year, I was joined by Chris on the podcast. You guys have obviously bought the business from Chris since I last spoke to him, or that was shortly, I think you bought the business shortly before I spoke to him. Would you do like a bit of an intro of what you do now and maybe what you were doing pre-MBO? Because you've all been with the business a long time. Lewis, you kick us off.
Yeah, so I've been with the business 7.5 years. I was focusing more on the perm team pre-MBO and then now fully managing the perm team post-MBO.
And yeah, I've been with the business for about 8 years or just over 8 years now. I was operations director, so I haven't really been on a desk for a while. But yeah, oversaw all the operations side for the whole team.
And a bit like Lewis, I was a billing manager before, but with the contract team. So still doing that now, but obviously the extra responsibilities of ownership.
Have your roles changed much? Because you guys are the billing managers, right? You're still doing similar roles, but obviously in, an elevated version of that.
On paper, no, not really, but it's just so much with running a business that takes up so much time, more in your head than it does actually physically doing it. But essentially no, but there is just a lot more to do.
If you had to describe the last 12 months in one word, what word would you say?
Kind of frantic.
Yeah, that's a good one actually.
Mm-hmm.
Stressful.
At times. But
At times, yeah.
Exciting.
Rewarding.
Yeah, exciting and rewarding, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
There's a few contrasting words in there, I suppose, but
you kind of get the highs and the lows a lot more than you do when you're in recruitment. And you do get highs and lows, obviously, but you do sit a bit more in the middle. But with ours, it seems to be, this is amazing, or this is really, really tough.
Yeah. Really tough and really scary, frantic.
Mm-hmm.
So if we rewind, when did the first sort of serious conversation come about, talking with Chris about purchasing the business?
I think it was it around about kind of like April time? March,
yeah,
April?
I mean, well, the first conversations were over
a while ago,
ages ago, but we never thought it'd be any time like it was. Like, it was a lot sooner than we thought. I mean, he literally asked us round for a Chinese, and we were worried that there might be something wrong with it.
Yeah, we actually thought it was something more serious about him personally than anything to do with the business.
And then he just kind of spit it out to us.
So sorry, so he said, you three guys, can you come
right
around for a Chinese?
Mm-hmm.
And did you talk amongst yourselves there of oh shit, is Chris all right?
We were like, what is this about?
Is it terminal? Is it not?
We genuinely didn't think that at all. Or we thought maybe it could have been that, but in a year or something like that, he had an actual plan, but it was kind of all systems go from there.
I guess going back a little bit as well, he'd put building blocks in place with a management structure to then get to the point where he wanted to sell. So we became those managers and we had a team. And then over a period of time, he just made that decision to want to sell the business to us.
Yeah. He was stepping back quite a bit. He wasn't in the office as much and just sort of leaving us to it, and I guess letting us make more decisions and things like that. So this obviously pre-planned from his side, and we obviously knew it was a long-term goal and plan of his, but as Wishy says, we didn't think it would be so soon. So obviously, when he did invite us round, we were like, what's this about? And I think if we thought it was business related, then he'd probably just speak to us about it in the office or something. So it was a bit of a surprise.
And was there, you said he just spat it out. Is there?
But it took ages though. We'd ordered the Chinese. He went to pick up, and we just sat in his dining room. Where's he gone? And why are we here?
Yeah.
And then went in his kitchen, started plating it all up, and then we were probably halfway through it at the point that he said, "I want to sell the business to you guys."
Yeah. Right. Okay.
And then he just passed over this piece of paper evaluation, and the numbers made no sense at all. We're just looking at it like it was hieroglyphics.
Yeah. Yeah.
No. Was there any hesitation from any of you?
I don't think so.
No.
I think it's an absolute no-brainer for us. I mean, I think once we got our head around what it meant and the fact that, there was not really a massive amount of risk involved for ourselves, and obviously it meant that we were going to be owning the business that we were all pretty invested in, then it was pretty much a no-brainer, I'd say.
We had to get numbers sorted as well. It wasn't a case of that's the
Yeah.
deal. We signed
No,
it
of
off there,
course
and
not.
then there was a lot more to it.
I had no idea what all the numbers meant at all. This doesn't, accounts and things not my forte. So yeah, that was
A
just,
delegation to Wishart, basically.
After about
Wish is the numbers
24
guy.
hours, it all made a bit more sense to me, and I was like, yeah, we need to change this and change that.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah.
Was there a plan B? Like if and I don't know the answer to this. Like if he'd got you around for your Chinese and said, I want to sell the business to you guys, and you'd said no, or if Lewis had gone, yeah, I'm in, and you two guys said, nah, not for me. Was there a backup plan? Have you ever talked about that?
It's a good question, actually. No, we probably haven't.
A backup plan for us or for Chris?
Maybe both. Yeah.
We have never spoke about it with us,
No.
because I think from the start we were all pretty keen, so
Yeah.
it was quite straightforward. I think for Chris, probably a trade sale would have been the other
Yeah.
option, but if he'd sold it to someone else, naturally his management team probably would have left
yeah,
and done someone else. So I don't think that was a realistic option.
or certainly not now, if you know what I mean. It might
Yeah.
have been like further down the line or whatever, but yeah.
Like most of us have, or most people in the industry have never gone through this process, right? Certainly from your side. So there's a lot of unknowns there. Is there anything that jumps out where you go like, that was the biggest thing I just didn't have a clue about, or that was a real unknown?
I think it's probably more like the legal stuff, like the contract and reviewing everything. It's all worded like legal jargon, so it's struggling to kind of get around that. But we had some great advice, and people that we used were really helpful, and got a
Mhm.
real good accountant and stuff as well. So the process was actually really simple.
Yeah, for me, definitely it was the valuation part and
Yeah.
understanding like how you come to a valuation of a business and that type of thing. That took quite a while to get my head around, and then working out, what it meant and what we could afford to do and that sort of thing. That was probably the trickiest part, I would say.
How easy was that valuation piece? So Chris has gone, here's the piece of paper that no one understood, but that's the value of the business. Was there any, well, actually, I think it's more than that. Was there any
A lot
discussion
of it,
there?
a lot of it is factual. It's based on like 5 years worth of accounts, and they do a calculation. The different percentages for each year were a bit weird to understand, but
Yeah.
I think it's pretty standard. And then after that, for valuing the business, it's just based on a multiplier. So it kind of is the figure.
Yeah.
Once you decide on that multiplier, it's all factual, so it's not too hard.
And there wasn't a lot of to and fro between us. There was a little bit of discussions and stuff like that, but I think the figure that Chris came to us with initially was fair, and we sort of eked out a little bit, a few different things, but yeah, I think we were pretty much all on the same page from the start.
Chris is quite easy to read, and we know he had a figure in his mind.
Yeah.
We knew he couldn't really get under that.
Yeah.
So
He pretty much told us that when we were having the Chinese, so
I
we
mean,
kind
there's
of
a little
he
bit
showed
of
his
wiggle,
hand.
a little bit, but not a lot.
Yeah. So again, like just thinking about the early stages of that and going through this process, is there anything that really surprised you? Whether that's, I don't know, whether that's legally, financially, emotionally.
What, since we've taken over?
Yeah, or I suppose going through maybe since taking over the process of.
Yeah, I think the biggest shock to me was how much money goes in and out the account.
Yeah, 100%.
It's just crazy because we pay our own temps. So you can imagine how many invoices are just going in and out of the account. That bit was quite shocking. And then things like VAT bills. It's just like looking up and seeing how much came out in one go, and you're like, you think you're absolutely nailing it, and then this big huge bill comes out.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the parts of the business that we didn't get to be or really see pre-MBO. And that was probably the biggest thing for me, was seeing like that amount of money going out every week, every month, every quarter. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I think
you hear about that all the time, like cash is king in a business, and without
True.
that, the cash flow is very important. Certainly helped us have more nights that are able to sleep rather than sleepless nights, if you like.
Yeah.
And I think we lost a lot of staff quite early on, all for like quite valid reasons. It's not like they're all going to competitors or anything like that. So at that point, you start worrying that you're going to lose everyone. And you just keep thinking someone will be going for a meeting, and you're like, are they really going to go for an interview? They call in sick, and you're like, are they really sick?
Yeah.
Yeah, it becomes a bit more personal, I think, as well. Like you view it more as a personal thing rather than just a business or just somewhere that you work and stuff. And I think certainly one of the things the three of us have agreed on, and I've said to Chris that we don't know how he did it himself. Like having the three of us going through this whole thing together and like dealing with all the issues and stuff has always been, excuse me, like it's like thank goodness for that, rather than it's all on your head. So you can see why Chris lost his hair quite early on and stuff.
Yeah.
When he was,
I think we all have sort of different personalities as well, which kind of helps with dealing with things a bit better.
Yeah.
Like Lewis maybe overthinks a wee bit, where I maybe underthink a wee bit, and Alison's somewhere in the
kind of
middle.
the middle. Yeah.
It's a nice balance.
Yeah,
Right?
it is. Yeah, exactly.
Was there any other like oh shit kind of moments like there where Chris has gone, you're in charge now, and a couple of people hand the notice in or leave, and you have that, I don't know, that panic or nervousness? Are there any other moments like that?
For me, it was the moment we had the AGM, which obviously you were there for, and then back in the office on the Tuesday, work from home on the Monday, and we had our first staff member put the notice in. So that was for us like a shit moment of, all right, we've just done an AGM, we've just basically told the team what we're going to do for this new financial year, owning the business. We've got our first person.
Someone's gone, I'm out.
Oh, fuck that, I don't want to work for these guys. So that, for me, that was a bit like, right, okay, is that now the start of a sinking ship situation, or do we need to just hire the team that we want to hire from there? And progressively throughout this year, we have lost team members that have, gone traveling, gone to live in Dubai, whatever else. And I think from our perspective, we took a team on that Chris has built himself. And for us, we wanted to build our own team. And that's given us the opportunity to do that. And I think basically the team that we've got at the moment, for me, is probably the strongest one we've had for a while. We've, bolted on to a construction division that has done well in the past, but we've secured some really decent team members recently. And I think that's just going to excel things going into this next year. So that's really exciting. So going from like that shit moment of we've lost staff to actually we've got a really good team. But those moments of we're losing the people, for us, it was a bit of a shock.
Yeah. And I think one of the hardest things is you're taking on a business that is successful, and certainly Chris was very much Peace Recruitment, very much part of it. And obviously when he exited, it's like, well, how you don't want to make massive changes because, change obviously scares people. So we were very conscious that we wanted to put our stamp on it, but how do you do that? Certainly immediately. And then when, as Lou said, people started, slowly but surely hand their notice in things, it's just like, okay, how can we best do this? So I think we've definitely spent this year just really finding our feet, changing a few things, and then, bringing in the team that we really want. And I think we're now coming towards the end of our year, about to start a new financial year. And with a really, really strong team, and the team that, we could only have wished for maybe a year ago, I would say. Yeah,
I think when we took over, there's probably about 4 or 5 people we did think there's a chance they could leave. Well, I didn't think as quick as they did, but
day one,
like literally day one. I remember there was 1 week as well. We had like 3 potential go, and they all didn't go at that time, and it was all for like nothing reasons as well. It was nothing we'd really done. Yeah. But the team we've got now, I don't think we're thinking any of them are sort of red flag worrying.
Don't jinx it.
But say that now.
But we think we're pretty secure now, and it is very much our team.
And is that so maybe, like, I think in hindsight, obviously hindsight's a wonderful thing. At the time you're going, oh shit, sinking ship. But I think having been inside the business and seen it firsthand, you got a great team at the moment. And maybe that's forced your hand to build a team that, like your team, as you called it, right?
Yeah.
Because if those people hadn't have done that, the chances are they'd still be sat there, right?
Quite possibly, yeah. And I think, as much as the people we've lost, we're sad to lose the majority of them. But I just think people coming in with no preconceived ideas of what Peace Recruitment was. So they've only seen the new version, if you like. So I think that just makes it a lot easier for us to do things the way we want to do it, manage things the way we want to manage things, and just ultimately run the business the way that we want to. I
think it's a dial as well, going from sort of line manager to business owner for the existing staff. They've gone from like Chris Peace Recruitment to like the new Peace Recruitment. So having that kind of maybe a slight authoritative sort of twist to it than just line management, I think was quite important. Yeah.
Is there any other way, like that's obviously an evolution of part of the business, right? The team's evolved. Is there any other bits that you think this is something we've purposefully tried to evolve or change or put our stamp on over the last 12 months?
I mean, we've kind of introduced like different things, like different bonus structures, and we've, I suppose, a bit more of a promotion culture within the business.
We're giving everyone like 6-month targets, so it's not like
specific.
It's really straightforward. Here's your 6-month target. If you can hit that, we'll give you a promotion.
Yeah.
Which I think is good, because it's one of the parts of the job that consultants really look at: promotions, career progression, and how many guys you got that are in like 20 years in recruitment are sitting at like senior consultant level, and they've had like 2 promotions ever.
Yeah.
I think what we've done with the MBO as well is gives the current staff members, when we're working on our management structure, we've got people below us, surely that should give them the confidence that there's not a glass ceiling, and that we are going to be doing something similar to what Chris did in years to come, to be able to give them the opportunity to own the business. And
is that the plan?
I think a long time.
Yeah, a long time away.
Well, not 20 years. Not that long.
Unless you have a banging couple of years, then it's going to be a little while away. But plus, we're probably not ready to retire yet ourselves. But I think
after the first year, maybe.
Not yet. I mean, I'll be retiring before these two. So, but yeah, I think definitely it's something that we've spoken to the guys about it. They're sort of aware that that's our intention further down the line. So if they're up for it and want to be there when that happens, then stick with us, sort of thing.
That's great, isn't it? I think from an employee perspective, 100%. That they can see that and they're aware that that's the long-term opportunity. There's not many businesses that can offer that, like truly offer that with like hand on heart. This is what's going to happen, or this is our intention.
The fact it's already been done as well,
mm-hmm.
should give them the confidence.
Yeah. And I do think it's helped us maybe secure some of the team members that we've now got. They've seen that as an opportunity, and I think people especially that have been in the industry for a long time and are really successful, you get to a point where there's only, commission's great and you're good at what you do, but you kind of want to see, well, what's next and what's the opportunity for me? So I think people being able to see that and see what we've done has definitely helped us secure some of our hires this year, for sure.
A slightly different question. What's the dynamic like with Chris? Like, he's still a minority shareholder, right? So how does that work?
Just comes in every quarter.
I said to him, is it like, and this was like months ago, but it was after we recorded the podcast, and I think it said, I've been in with the guys today. I was like, is it a little bit like Alex Ferguson coming back into, like, sitting there at Man United?
We talked about it. It might be like
more like The Office when David Brent comes in. No, I'm only joking.
Yeah, what is that like? How is that dynamic?
I think it may be he comes in quarterly. That's the agreement. He comes and attends the meetings with us and stuff like that. And obviously he's also on call if we need help with anything and the likes. But I think maybe unintentionally we have not been calling upon him for advice so much or anything like that. Because I think the three of us are just like, right, kind of know what we're doing. We just need to get on with it. We need to make our own mistakes, that type of thing. So I think maybe I'm wrong, but from Chris's point of view, I think he wanted to be more involved, or certainly more help, or wanted us to call on him more, perhaps. And it's more because we're just like, we just need to learn. Really.
Yeah, I think year one, it's all been operational problems as opposed to strategic, and strategies like his biggest strength. We were doing a lot of operational management before anyway, so it's not something we'd really call on him for. So I think going forward, there'll be times it will definitely need him, but this first year, it's just been mostly operational.
Recruitment.
Yeah, recruitment.
Recruiting the staff.
Yeah.
That's probably most
We're
of the
like
time,
Rec
isn't it?
to Rex basically just now.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, I don't know how he finds it, because obviously there's so many new faces, and so they don't know Chris, and it's like his name's above the door, but he comes in and they're just like, oh, this is Chris. They know who he is, but they don't know him.
Yeah,
I mean, he's been pretty busy with his own stuff anyway.
Yeah,
he's keeping really busy with his coaching, so I don't think he's missed us that much.
Yeah. What was the first big decision you had to make without him? Obviously, like between you three.
I don't know, actually.
I feel like we've made quite a lot of decisions, but I wouldn't. None of them would be like, right, okay, we really need to. It's not. And maybe some hires.
Maybe it's not enormous decisions, but there's decision making that has to happen in the business. And when it's one person, they make a decision, right? Mm-hmm. But there's three of you, so how does that play out? It's
actually played out pretty well.
Yeah,
if I'm being honest.
So far.
With some of the stuff, like for example, when we're hiring staff, and we've done a second interview or whatever, and we've wanted to make a decision, we've actually all come to the same agreement of that person we wanted to hire. So we've never had a point on that side where we've thought, oh, you two are saying yes and I'm saying no. We've not really had that, not disagreement, but not had that conversation yet.
Yeah, a 3 is obviously a good number, because obviously there's always going to be an outcome. But yeah, I'd say we pretty much made a lot of joint decisions, certainly in the first year. There's probably stuff that we maybe didn't need to. And I think as time goes on, we're learning our roles a bit more and going like, you know what, I don't need to consult these two on X, but especially staff for sure. And obviously any major budget spend and stuff like that. Then
I think as well, though, if someone's like quite passionate and wants to spend money on that, I wouldn't hold them back and be like, no, because it's not like crazy money. If it's like sponsoring an event or something like that, I'm keen to just support the other owners with their ideas.
Yeah,
I agree too. Yeah,
similar thing. Have you divided sort of responsibilities then across the business? Is like you said there, that's their area. There's certain things where I don't have to consult the other two. I just go with it because that's my job. How have you divided specifically the running of the business part?
Yeah, I think that's naturally just because I wasn't I've not been billing for a while, so I was kind of doing some of it anyway. And I feel like I've probably picked up all the additional things that Chris did. So, I mean, some of it is really dull. A lot of admin stuff, a lot of payroll and stuff like that. And HR, I suppose, it's kind of not always fallen to me, but it probably sort of does, even though we joke about it in the office all the time, who is the actual HR person. But yeah, I think, and because obviously Lewis, you manage the perm team, where she manages the contract team, and then I've just got involved quarterly. That's still kind of the case as well. So I'd say our responsibilities are similar than maybe to what they were before, but you guys have probably picked up more than you were doing before.
And then it's obviously like strategy meetings and things like that we're all involved with, looking at the accounts, hiring, that all three of us deal with.
Yeah.
If you had to give some advice now, you're 12 months post MBO, right? If someone came to you for advice and said, I'm about to go through the same process, what advice would you give them? What are like your top three things that you'd share with them?
I would probably say have someone in the business that's decent at numbers, that knows that stuff. Like Wishy, for us, has been like, I'm all right with numbers, but I'm not the best, if I'm being honest. But I think the way that Wishy understands those sort of things, it's maybe made it a little bit easier for us to collectively make a decision because he's understood it maybe better than certainly myself. Sure. So that's maybe one point that I would add in there, if possible. Yeah,
and I'd say we kind of touched on this before, but having cash in the business, obviously the way that we did the agreement, we were fortunate that when Chris left, that we were really good position in terms of money in the bank, and we were left with a good amount. That's meant that it's just made our life easier. I mean, we've got a really good financial controller, Michelle, who is on it. She's our debt days are really, really low, and she's very conscious of that. But I think that's been a huge thing. I think, and not get yourself in a position where every month you're worrying about cash flow, because I think that just then would take away from actually doing the other parts of the business, like the strategy, like managing the teams and that sort of thing.
I think that's one of those things potentially, if you hadn't done this before, you maybe wouldn't know, would you, how important that cash in the bank is? And you might see there's big numbers and they go out, but if you're playing it really close to the wire, that's when you can't sleep at night.
Also, you've got all these people that have got a mortgage to pay, mouths to feed, and the thought of your bank balance not being able to pay them would be quite stressful, I think.
Yeah. But I think maybe that's one of those things you wouldn't know. If you'd been handed over a business that maybe wasn't where it didn't have cash reserves, you'd probably find that out the hard way, wouldn't you? Yeah. I think that's a when I said what advice would you give someone, I think that's a solid one, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
And definitely, like Alison said, have a financial controller.
Yeah.
Once you got more than maybe 10 staff, she's so crucial to our business, and luckily we've got a really good one who's so reliable, trustworthy, and great at her job. But yeah, definitely have a financial controller. Yeah.
There was a couple of things that you said to me, Alison, off camera when we were chatting about setting this up, and I've jotted some of them down. And I think I said what are some of the lessons and stuff that we've had. Can I say some of these bits and you just tell me what they actually mean? So one of them was cash is king, but you've kind of covered that off, right? That having big cash reserves. You also said know your numbers. How does that play out? What does that mean? That's
kind of what Lewis was getting at in terms of understand accounts for starters, EBITDA, all the sort of accountancy terms that like I had no clue about before, is once you get to know that. But as we said, it's helpful to have somebody who's like can explain it in layman's terms, and you're not obviously having to then pay for an accountant to explain it to you as well.
Yeah.
Like even in company accounts, there's all these different names for things that don't really make any sense, and it's taken like a year to work out what everything is really. And once you do, then obviously you can manage your budgets and your cash flow from there a lot better. Like, where can we save money? What is this figure? Do we really need to be paying it? But also like certain things like VAT, although you pay it quarterly, you basically get the VAT in for 3 months and then you pay it. So it's just budgeting for that and knowing it's coming out.
Yeah. It's interesting that, isn't it? Because so many people are never taught how to read a P&L, most people don't know what to look at on management accounts or anything like that. It's it needs someone, doesn't it, to sit down with you and go, this is what this
That's like forecasting
means.
as well for your next year and your budgeting. That's really important.
Some stuff's really tough to like work out, like return on investment as well. Like we sponsor a couple of events that we're sure does get us money, but you can't really be like, well, we're spending 5 figures on something, we don't know how much it actually gets us back. So things like that are good to look at.
So another one that you said was communication is key.
I think throughout the business in terms of for the team and stuff, because obviously it was a big deal when Chris said he was moving on and handed things over to us. And as much as I hope most people were quite happy with the decision and like us to an extent, I definitely think that, there was probably concerns that perhaps were like, oh, what does that mean for us? And what does that look like for the business? And what are these guys going to do? And, where does that leave us? And are things rocky in the business? I think everybody just automatically kind of goes to the negative. So communicating with the guys and about our plans, and we did we got them all to sit down in a room and talk about things that they like to see in the business or they don't like to see in the business and stuff like that. We did that quite early on, and then we took that all on board, and then we ended up having a breakfast meeting with everybody and saying, right, okay, taking this on board, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to implement. And answer any questions that they had. And I think hopefully it's allowed them to realise that, their jobs are safe. We're very much wanting to grow the business and make the business even more of a success. So definitely think but without communicating that, you just never know. And that's what leads to people going, well, actually maybe better off going somewhere else. It's a bit safer or whatever, and not talking about it.
We're trying to get away from like an us and them and just make it a bit of an open forum that people can speak to us at all times.
Ironically, when we took the business over, we thought the business isn't broken. So what do we need to change? And that was quite a hard thing because the business had done well for so long. And ironically, when we'd done the team chat, one of the feedbacks was you need to kind of change a few things to put your own stamp on it as new business leaders. So we were, and that was quite an inspirational thing because we thought we didn't want to change too much for everyone to think, oh, there's too much change and we're just going to leave. So that was quite nice to hear from the team as well.
So that's the early stuff, right? And that must be really reassuring to hear that people want you to put your stamp on things. What about since then? How do you continue to communicate with the team? And I suppose, the bit that, as you were saying, that jumped into my head is, so you have this like breakfast meeting and people give you their ideas and they're communicating, it's 2-way and that's great. And then 3 people leave. Is there like another, like, we need to be communicating again here? Like, how does that play out on a continual basis?
People have left for different reasons. It's not been, I don't think, unless you said it behind our backs, but there's not been anything that has been from what we've done or what we've implemented for them to leave. Like I said, it's people going to Australia or Dubai or leaving the industry and following one of their passions. One guy in particular. So for us, it's quite a hard one to maybe pinpoint.
Yeah, I mean, we've always been, as a business, it's always been open, and one of our values is to be like open and honest and that type of thing. And I think we've always had that, and we always have our monthly meetings, we have our monthly catch-ups individually with the teams and that sort of thing. So hopefully at that stage, communication is quite good. I think certainly with people leaving, communication was pretty key because, if we didn't tell people early enough, then it's a whole bunch of rumours and people might have been told in the background, whatever. So we were very clear as soon as we found out, we're right, everybody, this is what's happening. Even with some of the guys that ended up working like 3 months notice and stuff like that because they weren't going to Australia for a while. We just wanted everybody to realise. And then when it came to, and our plan is, we will be replacing people. We're not going to shrink the business and that sort of thing. So yeah, I hope that our communication's always been pretty open.
I think as well, we are still friends with people that work
Yeah.
with us.
Yeah.
It's not like we're
Yeah.
suddenly like we're now your boss. Like we are still friends with them. So it's open communication. Like if I think, as I say, we're quite confident with the team we've got now that no one's just going to slip out the back door all of a sudden.
We
I hope.
the three of us sit in the office as well. Like we're not
Yeah.
in like separate rooms. You know, we're in the body of the Kirk, and we're, you know, people coming up to the desk and asking us questions. So, you know, it's very much an open door.
Yeah, sometimes it's actually
communication-wise.
too open in terms of I feel like everybody knows everything, and there is some things that you can't obviously speak about too early on. And we're very aware that if the three of us go off to have a meeting, everybody's like, "Oh, what's going on?" You know,
It'd be
like
the most minor thing though.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we stopped the milk delivery.
yeah, but everybody's always like, "Oh, there's something happening." So we've also even had to say that. By the way, if we all three of us go off for a meeting, it doesn't mean that someone's leaving. Doesn't mean there's any problems in the business. It's just that we can't discuss it necessarily in the whole office. So,
Yeah.
that's quite amusing.
The last one. So another thing you said to me on the phone. Change is inevitable.
Yeah, I think we always say now is like think of solutions, not problems.
Mhm.
Like you just get so many bumps in the road. There's just no point in worrying about it, and just think about how we're going to solve the problem.
Definitely. I think the change thing especially came from obviously the raft of notices we got initially. And as I said before, you do take it personally. And then I think we've learned that, you know what, that's meant for a reason. It's meant that it's opened the door for us to bring in different people and have different options and potentially a stronger team. So things happen for a reason. So yeah, I think just embracing the change.
Yeah.
I think some of, like I said earlier, some of the change needed to happen because the team wanted to see a change.
Yeah.
So by naturally doing it, I felt was, you know, it just happened naturally. So yeah, it's nothing too much kind of detail. We've not kind of had a specific plan. I mean, we have got plans obviously going into this next year, but looking at, you know, what we've done this year, there wasn't anything too specific. But I think it just happened naturally, didn't it? With the people that
It's been really
kind of
encouraging. Our first full month of having our team, we're going to build the most we build the whole time we've been
Yeah.
in charge. It's kind of like, oh, we've done it right.
Paying dividends, yeah.
Yeah.
I think as well, we've always said, well, worst case scenario, everyone leaves, it's just three of us. We can just build, you know, we know what we're doing. You know,
Yeah,
it's not going to collapse. Us and Michelle. It's not going to collapse, but yeah, hopefully that'll never happen.
So I just want to so you're on for record month, or you've just had a record month.
Since we've taken over,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So with you said there you've got plans for the next 12 months. What are the big plans? Like fast forward a year's time, what will we be looking back on? What's the ones that you can talk about that aren't top secret?
Yeah.
What are the big plans for the next 12 months?
I think we have, like this year, we have brought in a new service line to Peace Recruitment that we've not done before. I think we want to continue that. So we've got a couple of other options that we're putting some plans together for, which would be really exciting.
Yeah, I hope we'll have at least one other arm to Peace Recruitment this time next year. Hopefully, a couple.
Yeah.
Can you talk more about that, or is that
No,
still in
it's
its
top
early
secret.
development stages?
Early stages, for
Yeah,
sure.
okay.
And yeah, hopefully we'll be spending our AGM somewhere hot and sunny instead of Newcastle this year.
in October as well.
Yeah, that's true. So
Did you look at like hot and sunny places and then go like, where's wet and windy and miserable? We'll get the opposite.
I know, yeah. Hopefully because off the back of a sort of record year, or certainly record start of the year and stuff like that. So I think in terms of, we were looking at like, you know, what is our short, medium term, like sort of goals. And I think, you know, the short term is, you know, we've now got this team and we hope to like obviously build on that. And as we said, maybe add some different arms. And then, yeah, just to have a really good year.
Retention.
Yeah.
Like, don't want to have to do what we did this year again.
So no huge plans.
Yeah. Yeah.
Much of the same, but better.
How are you developing yourselves? Like now you've got like the top jobs. It is different, isn't it, to what you were doing before? And I know it's like an evolution of those roles. Like what are you doing to upskill and develop yourselves?
I found it quite hard to continue to build and still be quite a high performing builder. And then you've got like quite a big team to manage. You've got the strategy decisions, you think about the money and the cash, and it's been quite difficult to kind of adapt all that together. But I think it's made me more confident as a new business owner. Like this year, I've learned so much about myself and how to run a business that obviously we didn't have access to before. So maybe a little bit more about.
I think we're always pretty forthcoming when going to events that are on, things like that, try and get ahead of the curve. Obviously, the buzzword right now, AI. You know, we're not really techie people, as you know. So we're just trying to go to as many things and ask as many questions to get our heads around that. So we're ahead of the game. But I do think, like in the last year, like Lewis said, we've learned a lot, and then I think the year after we'll keep learning, and then at that point we might look to get more training for ourselves, because we got management training that Chris set up, and it was amazing for all of us. It was really, really good.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to discount that again, and maybe look at mentorship and how we can get to the next level.
Yeah.
And then same for the team as well, because we went through that leadership training and helped us get to where we are. So we want to take that to the team as well.
Yeah. And it's, I suppose for you guys, it's a whole nother level on top of that, though, isn't it? And is there any appetite to surround yourself with other leaders? Is that
I mean, we're about to join the recruitment network, which is obviously part of
amazing?
that. And I think just because it's the sort of size of the businesses and stuff, and we've been to a few events and stuff that is encouraging other like business leaders or businesses in general to get together. And I think that's one thing certainly in recruitment, everybody's quite anti it, and especially in Scotland, because it's such a small industry that everybody's always kind of been like, oh, it's us v them. Whereas I think a lot could be learned and a lot could be done if we're actually working together. So
I think we're quite lucky as well. We've actually got mutual friends that have either worked for Peace Recruitment that now own businesses, so we can bounce off ideas, which we have done over the course of this year with those people. And I think, as Alison said, there's always, recruiters are quite competitive and selfish, that, you're just going to talk about your own business and everything else. But I think it's important as leaders that, you help each other out where you need to. You don't need to disclose who you're working with or your clients or how much money you're making. But I think, these business decisions where it's been tough to recruit, how can we support each other with that? I think it's quite important.
Yeah, I think we're all just sort of more open to speaking to other recruiters. Like, you're on the call to another recruitment person this week.
Yeah.
I've got a friend who's got an IT recruitment company. I just met him for a coffee just to see how things are, just bounce ideas and see how they're finding things.
Yeah.
I think that's an evolution of the industry, actually. It's my belief anyway. I think back to when I was running a business, you wouldn't tell anyone anything. And if you met another recruitment business owner, you'd probably cross the road. Whereas unfortunately, I do a lot with TRN and some of the other networking groups, and the sharing of like knowledge and process and systems that happens there, I think it's a fantastic thing. It's been a big shift in our industry. I don't think that was happening 15 years ago.
Yeah, definitely.
There's only so few agencies that are actually straight up competitors of ours, and there's thousands of agencies out there.
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously, when we speak to our friends who own agencies that are competitors, we don't really talk specifics, but so there's a lot of people to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also Chris as well. Like, he's obviously part of a big network of people too. So we can always say to him, well, what about this? And if there's like specific, I don't know, tech or something like that we're wanting to look at, he generally can point us in the right direction of somebody too. So yeah, there's a lot of support, but I think we are trying to be do more of that.
Do you feel like business owners yet?
Yeah, it was the second day when that person handed the notice in.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
I think so.
I think a few months in, I did, to be honest.
Yeah.
Just there's so much to deal with.
I don't think there's much planning that you can do to become a business owner. It just happened, like shit happens, and you just have to get on with it.
Yeah.
And I think because it's the three of us, we're able to kind of chat about it. And it was one evening where we had those three potential people that we thought were going to leave. We were all in a group call on a night at like 8 o'clock thinking, like, what the hell's happening here? But we're like, thank God we've got like the
I love you guys.
so yeah,
It was literally.
yeah, it was. So yeah, it was quite funny.
Yeah.
Excellent. Can I ask you a question unrelated to the business? So it's a question I ask regularly on this podcast. What do you think the next 12 months look like for the recruitment industry? I get that's a big question, right? But I feel like we're in a time of change at the moment. What do you think are going to be the biggest shifts across the industry, not specifically in your sector, but more generally?
I think, unfortunately, there will be a lot of agencies that fail this year. There's some struggling just now, and the market isn't that bad. I know a lot of people say how terrible it is. If you're thinking that, you're going to really struggle. Mm-hmm. It's just a new norm. It isn't that bad. There's jobs out there, and we know that we're doing fine. with a lot of challenges. So I think there will be, unfortunately, quite a few that go under, and you do have to embrace the changes and the changes of AI and things like that.
Yeah.
I think it's investing in your team as well to kind of counter that, to make sure that you're investing in the team with training, development, culture to kind of maintain that. And if you maintain a good team in a all right market, you're going to do well.
Yeah, I know we keep going back to it, but cash is king as well. Like, we've got the money, we can invest, we can hire new people in. Like, if you're tight on money, you can have a perfect person right there and you can't afford them.
Yeah.
Or there's a new tech, or how are you going to keep your staff? Little things that we decided just to give everyone in the business private healthcare. Just this week we decided that because we can afford to do so. It's a perk that it might, I'm not saying it'll definitely keep staff, but it's something that will definitely help.
Yeah.
And a brand new coffee machine when we first took over, because that's the one thing that they wanted to get. So we got it. And it's little things like that that hopefully maintains keeping the staff and things.
Yeah.
So.
And I think, I mean, this is certainly one of our themes and focuses for next year is keeping the human element of recruitment. When we obviously did training sessions on it yesterday and client meetings and that sort of thing. And I definitely feel that there's so much tech and stuff out there that will take away a lot of the really heavy admin stuff that you do as a recruiter, that's just going to get people out there. And next year, October time, we're giving each of our consultants a budget per head to spend every single month in order to go out and take their clients for like coffees or beers, or go and play golf with them, and candidates as well. So I think just getting back to that side of things, because you're not going to beat the tech ultimately, but you will with your personalities.
I think in the next couple of years there'll be less and less of like an agency in Edinburgh filling jobs in Manchester and things like that. I think that'll get less and less, because I do think that can be done in a different country, or mostly by AI.
I think like a lot of what you're describing here, I think is completely true. I think there's people bemoaning the market, and some of those people will fail because of their outlook. But I think this is such a big thing for me at the moment, is that human to human element, and everyone's mad on AI. And we kind of spoke about some of this yesterday with the guys some recruiters will use AI to bill 150 grand and do it a little bit easier, and some people will use AI to get them from 150 to 250 because they've got their time back and they can go and spend time having coffees and beers and playing golf with clients and meeting people face to face and spending hours on the phone qualifying people properly. I think it's going to be a big driver.
Yeah, that's the important part of recruitment, isn't it? Going
Yeah.
out networking and playing that golf, or going for that pint, or just getting stuff out of the office. I think that's really important, because sat behind the desk all day just on the phone, that's a tough gig for anybody.
Yeah.
It's really tough,
Yeah.
especially in the market that, we're finding it fine. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. We're doing fine in it. But, to get that average recruiter to a great recruiter, they need to get themselves out more. And that's something that we're pushing a lot more on.
I think with AI, though, it gives an opportunity to move billings on, though. I feel like for 10 years, what was good billing 10 years ago is what's good billing now. And
Yeah,
if you
I
got
agree.
inflation, it's went up, 20, 30% or something. So billing should have went up that, but it's not. It stayed the same. So it might give opportunity for some bad recruiters who aren't doing so well to leave the industry, and the good ones really to move on.
Yeah.
We're almost out of time, but just to wrap up then. So if there's anyone listening to this, and I think there's maybe two types of people. If there's someone listening that's employed in another business that lives in Edinburgh and is like, these guys are in Edinburgh, they seem amazing to work for, what should they do? Should they get in touch? I suppose the other group of people, if there's anyone listening to this that's maybe got the opportunity to go through a similar process to what you guys have in terms of MBO, are you open to giving help and advice? I know there's two questions there. Maybe the first one, people listening, recruiters listening that like what you guys are building, what should they do?
Yeah, absolutely. Get in touch with us. Yeah. I mean, LinkedIn or email or whatever. All our information is on LinkedIn, I'd say. And we are, albeit our team is pretty strong at the moment, we are definitely open to speaking to people in the industry for sure. Or if there's any other different revenue streams and stuff like that they might be interested in coming to work with the likes of ourselves.
Yeah, we have a couple of holes still that we'd like to fill. There's definitely growth areas within what we have already. But as I say, we're open. If someone is in a different sector and they're thinking about going on their own, but would like a bit of support behind them and maybe even financial backing, it's something we are open to. Yeah,
definitely. We're open to working with some people, whatever they can bring. We can obviously, we'll have support there, and also any most people that work for our business, the reason they've joined us in the first place is because of things like our commission scheme is pretty much, as far as we're aware, one of the best in Scotland, certainly in the industry. Good benefits, good bunch. We still do hybrid working, the whole lot.
Yeah.
And obviously, as we've spoken about earlier on, things like the future opportunities as well that we can probably offer that a lot of other businesses won't be able to. So
wonderful. And if, like I said, if there's people out there that have maybe got the opportunity to do something similar to what you guys are doing, you're open to chatting and sharing anything that maybe you haven't done.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, I think it would be really valuable coming from people that are like fresh.
Yeah, we've just literally done it. So yeah, absolutely.
Amazing. Guys, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
Thanks.
Cheers.